first question I have is, was everybody able to sign in to review the session that
I
from
didn't.
last week?
I didn't, but I will.
Okay, so here's the thing. When you sign in, you may have, I have a member number from Women's League, but I think you can also sign in with your email address.
Mhm.
And just go, and I gave the instructions of all the click-throughs. There are a couple of click-throughs and you should find it. Now, I went on to look for it on Wednesday night, I think it was, and I couldn't find it. And I think the reason it was so delayed in being uploaded was because
Holiday.
of the Chag. Right. So, but because usually I think they're pretty quick. I went on last night. I said, oh, let me see. And of course it was there. And I was delighted to see that it's there. So all of the sessions are being recorded. And Alyssa, what you missed last week was I introduced myself. And basically what I said was, if you ever have a question, you can reach out to me. All my emails have my landline phone as well as my cell phone. And, I'm happy to help people in between classes or whatever. Okay, so before we get to Gail's question, let me just give a brief review for what we had done last week, which was we're taking a Hebrew reading journey. And we talked about, at least I hope we talked about the following, that Hebrew goes from right to left. The letters or consonants, of which there are 22, are on the line, and the vowels, which are dots or dashes, are underneath the consonants or underneath the letters. For the most part, there are some exceptions, but we'll get to them later on. There are no capital letters in Hebrew. There are some double and triple letters. Again, we'll get to them shortly. And some letters, 5 of them, change their form at the end of the word. The other thing about Hebrew is that it is very phonetic. So what this means is that when you get a sound like an M sound, it's always In contrast to English, where if I spelled the word L-A-U-G-H, that's laugh. So in that case, the GH is an F sound. But if I gave you the word T-H-R-O-U-G-H, I'm going through town, the GH is silent. I think it would be very difficult to learn English because, how do you know? How do you know which is which? Well, in Hebrew, it's pretty simple because the B sound is the B sound. There you go. It won't be anything else. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay, the text we are using is Shalom Aleichem, which means, it literally means peace be unto you, but it's also welcome. And we're using this text because it goes along and matches the Friday night liturgy. So we'll be learning pieces that if you go to Friday night services, may be sung or recited at your services. It was interesting because I was talking to my cantor about this, and Shalom Aleichem is one of the pieces that I grew up singing for Friday night services where I grew up, but we don't use them in the synagogue. We don't use that in the synagogue I belong to. We almost never sing that. So it's like, oh, okay. But every synagogue has its own approach. Okay, so for Alyssa's benefit, because Alyssa, you weren't here last week, right? I'm right, okay. So we went on page, and this is a good review. Page 2, we started with the first letter we were learning, which was the name of the letter is Mem. The sound is M, like And in my opinion, it looks like a mountain. So, I mean, if you look at the top of that page, if I were an artist, which I'm not, and I were trying to draw a landscape or something like that, I might make, and I'm looking for my pen, give me a min. My marker pen, found it. So if I were drawing a landscape, I'd make this, oh, I have to, hold on, I have this thing called blur that's on. Background and filters. Wait a minute. Apologies, none. Okay, now we're good. All right, now you should see it. Okay. So that looks like a mountain. And when you add the little doohickey, that's the M sound. It appears in the beginning or middle of the word. It changes its form at the end, but this is beginning or middle of the word. Okay, so that was what we did on, that's page 2, and we were introduced to 3 vowels. The single dot underneath is the E. The 2 dots that go together side by side. I drew a beautiful picture of what I would consider a snake, which, like other things, has taken a walk, but I like to tell my students that the snake has snake eyes. So I'll draw another snake when I get a pen that actually writes. So there's my idea of the snake. And you see the snake has what I call snake eyes, 2 dots next to each other. That's the A vowel in Hebrew. And then again, because I'm not an artist, this is a picture of the face of the pet I do not have. But the 2 dots with those 3 dots like that, that's the pet, and that's the eh sound. So that's what we learned on page 2. On page 3, we picked up another letter, which, you know, some people like to know the name of the letter. The letter is a lamed, and it looks like this. And notice that the top of it looks like an L. That helps you remember that it's the lamed, the L sound. La, 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 la. Okay. And then the last letter, I think we learned last time, comes at the end of the word. It looks like this. Okay. On a digressing for a moment, there's a composer. His name is B-A-C-H. How would you pronounce his last name? Alyssa, I'm gonna call on you, you weren't here.
Bach or Bach.
Bach. The last one, Bach. That's what this sound is. The h sound at the end of a word.
Can I ask a quick question? What was
Yes,
your little trick for remembering the single dot E sound?
I didn't have one.
Ah, that's why. Okay, I was writing the others down. They were great ideas. Thank you.
Oh yeah, all of these little tricks, you know, I've been teaching adults to read Hebrew for well over 25 years. And I've picked up little tricks along the way. And as somebody once said, since you're paying nothing for it, it's, you know, you don't want to use it, that's fine. But if you want to use it, that's fine. That's why they're there. Okay, so now we're at page 5, which is where Gail has a question. So
Okay.
what is your question, please?
Okay, line 5
Yes.
on page 5,
Mhm.
the last word. I'm
Okay.
assuming, let me try, I want to try it.
Yeah, of course.
Lay, cake,
Almost. So this one is hard because, and so give me a minute.
sure.
I want to go back. Okay, so this letter, which we would just looked at, which is the h that comes at the end of a word.
Right.
And but if the h sound is in the middle or beginning of a word, it looks like a backward C.
Right.
Okay. So Gail, you're almost correct. That last word is lay, hey, huh, lay, hey.
Lay, cake,
Yes, you've got it.
lay, cake.
And then the second time, the second time he just gave it to Alex.
Uh,
I'm guessing that's what
Ruth, is there some conversation in your background? Because I just heard something that,
In my background,
yeah, I thought so. Maybe
my
not.
daughter is in the living room.
Okay,
But
Maybe everyone
I'll
can
close
mute.
the door, so.
yes,
Maybe
please.
if everyone mutes, unless you need to say something, that could be helpful.
There's well, yes, that's true, but it turns out there's only 4 of us because someone was losing the other person who was here was losing their connection and left. So what we learned today, we will go over next week as well, so that because there should be, I have my list. So there should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There should be 10 of us in this class. And now we have 3. I mean, that's okay. Okay. Page, page 6. Okay, so here's the question. I think, did we do page 6 last week? I usually mark it down and I forgot to this time. No, we did not.
No.
Okay, great. We're gonna start on page 6. All right. Let me see. I'm trying to think of something that I can't think of right now, but that's all right. I will later. So at the top of page 6, we are being introduced to another letter that's in that box. And the letter almost looks like an apostrophe. All right, there it is. That letter is the yud. It works like a Y in English, meaning sometimes it is what I call a vowel helper. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, this word here, bay. You don't really pronounce the Y. What I think of is it helps the A say A. You don't always need it. I was trying to think of a word that had the long A in it that doesn't have a Y, and my mind blanked over, but
Amen.
amen. Oh, yes, good. Amen. There you go. There's a long A without a Y. Excellent. Okay, here's another word. Where again, the Y is just the helper, if you will. Okay, so we have honey. I like to say the Y is helping the E say E. Okay, there are English language conventions, they're well beyond me at this point, but there are certain conventions in Hebrew as well that are somewhat beyond me. Other than to say that we begin by learning the little yud as a vowel helper, and later on, we'll learn it as a vowel, as a letter, similar to how the Y works. So we have bay, you don't pronounce the Y. We have honey, you don't pronounce the Y. And then we have the word you, where you do pronounce the Y. The little yud acts exactly the same way. So with that in mind, let's go to page 6. And Gail, how about line 1?
With pleasure. G, 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 G.
Excellent, thank you. Alyssa, line 2. I call on people in order of how they're appearing on my screen.
Okay. Ge, lege, 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 ge.
Excellent. Ruth, line 3, please.
Lege, 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 la.
Yes, excellent. Okay. Gail, line 4, please.
Mi melech.
Yep.
Lege, lege, melech.
Yes, excellent. Alyssa, line 5, please.
Okay. Let's see. The dot is E.
Correct.
Milche,
Excellent.
milche, 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 milche.
Yes. Practice makes perfect, I guess. Anyway,
Yep.
Ruth, line 6, please.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Mail, mailge.
Mhm.
Mailge, 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 mailge.
Excellent. Gail, 7, please.
Melge, 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 melge.
Nice. Alyssa, line 8, please.
I think it's the same. Melche,
Yep.
melech, melech.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Meleche.
Okay. Just Mel. Hey.
Oh, because there's nothing under the, got
Right.
it. Okay. Melche.
Mhm.
Melech, melche.
Very nice. Ruth,
Thank you.
9, please.
Melge. Me, me, melech,
Yes.
melech, melche, melche,
Mel. Hey. Yep. Better.
melche.
Yep.
Me, melech. Melche,
Yes.
melche.
Yep. Okay. We're going to skip line 10 because I don't like line 10. All right. What can I say? Okay, so we're going to go to page 7, and the top of the page says new vowels. That's lovely. Okay. Now, I want to take you all back to when you might have been a child, went to the doctor. Doctor took a long stick, notice long stick, put it in your mouth to hold your tongue down, and he said to you, say, ah. That's what this is. Think of the long stick, and you've got your ah. Okay? Now, there is a second vowel that will also be pronounced as ah. And it looks like a little T. So these are both pronounced the same way. Now, some of you had told me, I think that, a long time ago, I think it was Gail Kaiser who said, learned Hebrew way back when. And that's fine. And way back when, you might have learned this vowel pronounced differently. More like ah. And
Yes, that's true.
yeah, and we pronounce it as ah. So there are two ways of pronouncing Hebrew. There's the Ashkenazi, and the word Ashkenaz means Germany in Hebrew. And Ashkenazi Hebrew is basically Hebrew from Eastern Europe. So Germany represents Eastern Europe. Then there's the Sephardi pronunciation, which is what I am teaching. Sephardi means Middle Eastern, if you will. So the difference between Ashkenazi and Sephardi, the Sephardi or the Sephardim, Sfarad, that word itself in Hebrew means Spain. So the Jews that emigrated to Israel or to that part of the world, Palestine, from Spain and Portugal, and also from other Middle Eastern countries, like maybe Yemen or Saudi Arabia, or what was, what today we call Yemen, Saudi Arabia, who knows what they were called before. In any event, all of those peoples had the Sephardi pronunciation. So we have Ashkenazi versus Sephardi. There are some differences. They're minor, but they exist. Sometime after the founding of the state of Israel, it was determined that Israel itself would go with the Sephardi pronunciation. So there were a whole lot of people who had come to Israel over time, from the early 1900s till the founding of the state, that, this one spoke Ashkenazi Hebrew and this one was Sephardi Hebrew. So sometime after the founding of the state, they decided, okay, Sephardi Hebrew, that's the way it's going to be. Now, and I remember, because I was in Hebrew school, when they explained all of this to us and told us, how to make the change. And in fact, there were members of my congregation. I'm thinking of a particular gentleman who is in his 90s, and he still uses the old Ashkenazi pronunciation because that's what he learned as a little boy. And, it was too complicated by the time the state was formed and they made this determination. He was probably, he was probably 30 years old or so, something like that, I'm guessing. And, he couldn't make the switch, and that's fine. We get it. So that's by way of explanation of why this is also an ah. So these two are ah. With that in mind, let's go to page number 7. I forgot where I left off. Ruth, did you read the last line, or was it Alyssa? I forget.
I do. It was Alyssa.
It was Alyssa. It was Alyssa. Okay, so Ruth, please, on page 7, line 1.
Ma, 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 la, 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 la.
Very nice. Okay.
I was
Gail,
going to
line-
sing it, but I thought,
That's okay. Gail, line 2, please.
Mala, mala, lama, lama, la la, mama.
Okay, great. Alyssa, line 3, please.
Okay, it's pronounced Elisa. I don't mean to.
Oh, I'm sorry, Elisa.
It's okay. It's spelled Alyssa. It's totally fine.
No. I'm gonna make a note. Hold
Okay.
on.
Put the little dot under it. I'm remembering her tricks.
Thank
so
you.
line
Okay. I made a note.
is ma, 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 mal, mal, mal.
Thank you. That very good. Ruth, 4, please.
mal, 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 mal.
Yes. Gail, 5, please.
Mal, mal, mal. Hey, hey, hey.
Very nice. Who was that?
That was
now
Gail.
that was Gail. I thought so. I am totally with it. Yes, right. Elisa, line 6, please.
Okay, ma, mal, l'che, mal, che, mal, che.
Yes.
Exclamation point.
Right. Thank you. Exclamation point. Some people get confused. Ruth, 7, please.
Malche, 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 malche.
Okay, great. Gail, line 8, please.
Question for you before
Yes.
that.
Yes,
Does
of
the
course.
exclamation point mean anything, or is it just there for show?
I think in this case, it's there for show. But
Okay.
I mean, in Hebrew, exclamation points mean the same thing as they do in English.
Oh, okay.
You know, in other words, if you were reading a newspaper article, I mean, I can't think offhand as to whether if I've ever seen exclamation points in the Siddur in the prayer book. There could be them. I don't think so. I just don't remember. But if you were reading a Hebrew newspaper, for example, or a book of stories or something, there might be an exclamation point. So if
Okay.
they introduce a character and the character starts by saying shalom, there might be an exclamation point, just
Got
like
it.
hello, exclamation point. Yeah.
Could it be possibly, I was just looking back, that
Mhm.
that's one of the words from the song Shalom Aleichem?
Okay, hang on a minute, because it might be. I have a Siddur right here. And let me see if I can find it quickly. Weekday afternoons, we're not interested. Kabbalat
I'm
Shabbat.
just curious.
Yes, no. I'm looking it up because maybe it's here. Hold on. Shalom Aleichem. Okay, so in this Siddur that I just opened up, I don't see an exclamation point anywhere. So now,
It's not in the beginning
No, it's
where
not.
they have the word, the song either.
okay, so here's the deal. Here's the deal. I find that different editions of whether it's a book or a prayer book or any other kind of a book, often from one edition to the next, they add things, they take things away, they whatever. So in the Siddur Sim Shalom for Shabbat and festivals, which I happen to have handy here, I see no exclamation point. But that doesn't mean that it might not appear in a different prayer book or in a
What I-
different edition of this particular prayer book.
What I meant is it's giving us notice that those two particular words without the exclamation point do appear in Shalom Aleichem. That's
Yes,
it's a word that we should pay careful attention to because they do appear in Shalom Aleichem.
I like your thinking. Yes. I think that may be why it's there. Good, thank you. Okay, I'll sit on this. Okay, so we're at line 7, I think, and
My
And who-
turn, I think.
okay,
Malche, 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 malche.
yes, thank you. Elisa, please.
Che, che, l'che, mal, 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 che.
Yes, thank you. Ruth, line 9, please.
Malche, malche, malche. Melech. Malche.
Yes,
Malche.
you got it. Excellent. Gail, 10, please.
Malche, melech, malche, melech, malche.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Oh, Elisa.
Me, lech, Me, mime,
Yeah.
mimele, lech.
Yes. Ruth, line 12, please.
Malche. Wait a minute. Ma melech.
Almost.
Oh,
That's
me melech. Me melech.
yes.
Malche.
Remember, it's malche.
Malche.
Mhm.
Me melech. Melech.
Mm, go-
Ma malech.
Almost.
Malachi.
Malche. Yes.
Just Malchi.
Malche. Yep.
Malchi.
Okay. So basically, what the text is doing is splitting these words up into their syllables. So one of the words in one of the stanzas of Shalom, the song Shalom Aleichem, is Mi Melech. So right now, this whole page was focusing on getting you familiar with Mi Melech.
Can I
Certainly,
tell
like,
you that those snake eyes and that pet, those silly little things
yes.
were perfect.
Yeah.
Oh,
they
good.
do.
Right away, I have a little cheat sheet, sticky
Yep.
note next to my textbook so I can look at the vowels. I don't have to look at it anymore after you said those tricks.
Yeah,
That's, I think that's a,
I find also it really is very helpful because I see the two dots and in my head I say snake. A,
Exactly. That's really what the point is.
and
yeah.
then I see the triple dot and I think of your picture with the cat and it's pet.
Yep. Good.
I do have a question though.
Yes. Of course. Of course.
If in like the word malche,
Hmm.
because we're putting the dot, the A vowel with the yud,
Mhm.
does that mean that we don't use the final cuff
Correct.
because of the yud?
No, because of but it's the combination of the A and the Yud. It's a
Okay,
combination.
no, I understand that, but could it be where it wouldn't come out with the final cuff with the A vowel under it?
No, it wouldn't. Okay,
Okay.
so the final huff usually is okay. So
I mean,
I'm going to because you asked the question, I'm going to rapidly go ahead. We'll come. So this is we learned this much later on, but I will in fact explain it a little bit right now.
thank you. I hope nobody else minds.
I mean, so I'm going on a detour, or if you will, and you could go to sleep right now for a few seconds if you'd like, or whatever. I'm just
No, it's my question.
you can't, but the others could. Anyway, normally, okay, so when I first showed you the letter, it was basically naked. You never see the letter naked. You always see it like this with two dots in it.
With
Now
the-
it's dressed up.
right.
Okay, so you'll either see this letter like that, and I'm going to take another sheet so that it's easier to see it. Okay, so you typically see it like this. So that's the h at the end, like the word melech. Is
Right.
would normally in a prayer book would have those two dots in it.
Okay,
Um,
that's a schwa, right?
that yes, it is a schwa. The schwa is the
It's-
silent vowel. It basically, as I like to say, it allows two consonants to be together. So since every Hebrew letter needs a vowel, and if you wanted to come up with a word like Indian or India, those
Mhm.
are two consonants together. If every Hebrew consonant needs a vowel, how do you get two consonant sounds together? The silent vowel, the schwa.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Thank you. Nobody ever explained that to me.
I mean, that's the way it is. Now, just one second. I'm looking for something again in my prayer book, because I may not, spelling in any language has never been one of my strong points. And so right now I'm looking for a spot, hold on. To see if I could find a word. I'm thinking of a word. Ooh, hold on. I think I just saw it. Okay. Yes. But I'm looking for one more thing. Okay. In the middle of the services in Shacharit, or most of the Amidah, when you're doing it out loud, there's a section, Yivarechacha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
Yes.
Okay, so you don't know all of the letters yet, but Yivarechacha, the end of Yivarechacha is this. Okay? Yivarechacha.
Okay.
So this final chaf comes in two forms. It either comes with the shva in it, the silent vowels, like baruch, or as a cha, yivarechacha.
Okay.
No other vowel will appear. That's it.
Okay.
So there you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
I seriously appreciate that, because that has thrown me off for ages.
So, Elisa, what I had mentioned last week was that there's no such thing as a stupid question. And, anything is on the table. We all want to, my job is to help you ladies and the others learn to read Hebrew so that you can participate more or better in the services. It's interesting that I have taught folks, and then we end up at services together. And a lot of the prayers or pieces of liturgy that are most frequently sung by the group often appear transliterated. And I always tell my students, if I see them in services, cover that part up. I want you to read the Hebrew. I don't want you to read the English letters. That defeats the whole purpose of this thing. Okay, so we are on page 8. And at the top of page 8 in the box is the E followed by the Y. So as I had mentioned before, think of that little yud or the Y sound as in honey or money. And without the little yud, it's still an E as in, oh, I thought of a word.
It's just me. If you have just the dot, you say just
Right.
me.
Just me, or I was going to quote Shakespeare, to be or not to be. Be, that is the question. Me, be, those words, absolutely. Okay. So I've forgotten who we left off with. So Gail, why don't we
I
start
think
with-
I was the last one.
I think so too. So I was going to call on Gail to read line 1 on page 8.
Me, 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 Lee, me.
Yes, excellent. Elisa.
Chi, me, me.
Yes, excellent as well.
If you
Ruth,
have,
yes.
can I say quick, if
Sure.
we have the, what is that letter called again, the apostrophe?
Yud.
Yeah. If we,
Yud.
yeah,
Yud.
if we have, if the yud appears at the end of a word, do we ever, is it ever pronounced? Or
Not
is
at
it
the end.
only, so it's only a helper when it's at the end?
No, it could be in the middle of the word as a helper. Let's see.
Yachad,
Well,
Yachad.
no. So
So it looks
So
like
here's-
here it follows whatever vowel was underneath the letter before it.
Yeah.
Like honey and hay, like the
Mhm.
examples. So we're never, at the end of the word, we're not gonna ever pronounce it, except whatever the vowel was right before it.
except, well, it goes a little
Okay,
bit
maybe
further.
there's not
Okay,
never.
me.
Right. Okay. hang on a second. Hold your question. I'll address it more completely after Ruth reads line 3.
Chi, li, lichi, lichi.
Yep.
Michi,
Right.
michi.
Okay. Excellent. So, Elisa, to answer your question, you see there's the little yud in the middle of a word, and it's just helping the vowel. Now, you might say, well, how would I know if it's helping the vowel or it's being a letter on its own? Okay, here's how you know.
Figured it out.
Here's how you know.
It doesn't have a vowel underneath it.
Exactly. Yep, Gail figured it out. I was just, okay. I'm going to use an L for letter or consonant and V for vowel. So basically, in Hebrew, you get the letter and the vowel. And I can write that across the whole page.
Right.
If you have a letter and no vowel, you just pronounce the letter, if you will. Now, in the case of the little yud, because it's helping the vowel in front of it, you don't really pronounce it.
Because it
Makes
doesn't
sense.
have a vowel under it.
Right, right. So if it had a vowel underneath it, so for example, the Hebrew word for hand is yad. So yad, has a vowel underneath it, yad.
Right.
Okay, so that was
Have-
line number
Oh, you
3.
Carol, you
Yes.
are making so much sense. I mean, your explanations are really clearing up for me. And Elisa looks like she's agreeing that
Oh, thanks.
it's making sense of it. It's actually making it much easier. And I don't feel as confused because
Good.
it's just doing it for me.
Well, I'm delighted to hear that. So thank you. Okay, so we just did line 3. And so I think it was 1, 2, 3. So line 4, are we back to you,
Me.
Gail.
Gail? I
Back
think.
to Gail.
Okay.
Yeah.
He, lachi, 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 lachi.
Yes. Elisa, 5, please.
La, mala, mala, la, chi.
Yes. Ruth, 6, please.
Chi, lachi, lachi. Mela, mela, melach, melachi,
Yes, nice.
malachi.
Yep. 7, Gail, please.
He, lachi, lachi, mal.
Mm-mm.
No, it's lachi,
Yeah,
lachi.
Yeah.
Mlachi.
yeah. Elisa, 8, please.
Chi, mlachi, chi, mlach, chi.
Yes. And now, Ruth, line 9, please.
Melech, melche, melche,
Oh,
No.
look at that. Meh. That's just meh. La.
melach, melachi,
Yes, excellent.
melachi, melachi, melachi.
Yeah. Gail, line 10, please.
Me, Melech, Malchi, Malche,
Yep.
Malay, Malachi,
Mm-hmm.
Malachi, Malachi.
Okay, but it's better to say meh, not ma, but milachi.
Milachi.
Yes.
Milachi.
Okay.
Melachi.
Now, the first letter that we learned, which I had reviewed at the beginning. Give me a min. Okay. That's the guy that kind of looks like a mountain. That's the mem. That's
Yep.
the M. Now, you may recall I said when we began that there are, I think it's 5 Hebrew letters that have a different form at the end of the word than at the beginning or the middle. So when I would teach in a classroom situation, I would write out the letters we had learned on a board. And when we got to the mem, and I said, okay, tell me this, I don't care about the names. I said, tell me the sound of the letter. And they, in the class would go, and I would say, where is it? When I came to this one, I would say, okay, that's where? And the answer is beginning or middle.
Beginning.
Or middle, or middle, could be middle. If you need an M sound at the end of the word, so that you get a word like team or beam, or any one of 1,000 words that end in M, a mem, the final mem looks like a box.
Like shalom.
Oh yeah, good, shalom. Yeah. Hard to think quickly on your feet. What can I say? Even if I'm sitting down. So here we go. Much better. So that final M looks like a box. So I have no trick as to how you remember it other than that's what it is. Now, it can appear quite frequently because okay. Let's read page 9 and then remind me, I said I wanted to tell you why it could appear quite frequently. Okay, so we are at, let me see. I think it's Elisa.
Okay, line 1.
No, that's
No.
line 2. Line 1, stupid. Line
Okay.
2.
Me, Lee,
Wait a minute.
he. Oh, sorry.
Wait a minute.
Line
I'm
2?
on page 9.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. That was 11. I have it printed on 2 pages. I got to go back one.
Okay.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, line 2.
Yeah.
Meme, leem.
Yeah.
Chim, lam.
Very
Lam,
nice. Yeah.
Lama or lam?
Lam.
Lam.
There's no vowel under that
Okay.
final letter. Ruth, line 3, please.
Lem.
Second one is what?
Oh,
Snake
lame.
eyes.
Yeah.
Lame. Sorry.
Yep.
I saw an extra dot. Lam. Lame.
Wait a minute. No.
Wait.
Start again on line 3. Start from the beginning, okay? So that we're all in the same place.
All right, lem. Lam.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm going to interrupt you. I'm going to show you the handiest tool
Lame.
I have for
Oh,
using
lame.
this is my magnifying glass. I recommend it.
Okay.
All right, anyway, so start again. I'm
Okay, so
sorry.
I've got lem, lame, lam. No.
Yeah.
Oh. Lame.
Okay, so the fourth one is, again, the little t is also an
Lam.
Yep.
Mame. Oh, mame. Mem.
Name. Yes, excellent. Okay. Line 4, please, Gail.
Okay. Maim, lame, chim, chim.
Yes. Elisa, 5, please.
Chim, 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 chim.
Yes. Ruth, 6, please.
Lachim. La. Chim.
Mhm.
Mela,
Mm-hmm.
Mela, Melachim.
Yes.
Melachim.
Malachim, yes. Gail, line 7, please.
Melachim, melachim, melachim.
Very nice. Elisa, line 8, please.
Okay. Malche, Malachim, Melech, Malech.
Almost.
Oh, Malachi, Malche,
Yep.
Malche, because there's nothing under the L. Malachim,
Yes.
Malachim, yeah. with the
Malachim,
dot.
yes. Ruth, line 9, please.
Mimelech, Malche, Malache, Malachim,
Malachim.
Malachim,
Yep. Okay.
Malachim.
Right. I'm going to skip line 10. Now, here's what I want to do. Wait 1 sec.
You said to remind you about why it occurs frequently.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing now. I'm writing it out. So thank you. Okay, so Hebrew, like other foreign languages, if you will, because I think English is always different for me. But anyway, and I studied Hebrew and French. But so Hebrew is gendered, and it has singular nouns and verbs, singular and plural, masculine and feminine. And the here we go. The masculine plural ending. So the word has to be a masculine word. The word could refer to, a table or a postage stamp. But if it's considered a masculine word and you need to have it plural, the plural,
And
I've written it out. So give me a minute. I'm highlighting it, circling it in red. So the plural is always whatever the word is. So in this case, we have milachim. So you see that final on the screen is backwards from where I am. Okay. You see this final M a lot because if you have words in the prayers or, we're looking at prayer book Hebrew, there are words that are plural. And you'll see this final M sound, the final mem a lot because that's how you make the plural.
right, like prayer books are siddur and plural is siddurim.
Exactly. So
And
what we have,
chumash and chumashim.
correct. You got it. I mean, that's it. So in this case, the singular for this word is melech and it's melachim. That's the plural. Melech is a king. Melachim are kings. Melech, so I think in this particular, well, I forget how, hold on, I'm going to go back to see how Shalom Aleichem actually goes. As I said, we don't sing it in my shul, so I keep forgetting how it actually goes, even though I really do know it. Getting there quickly, sorry. Okay, Shalom Aleichem. Malachei Hashari Malachei Elyon Mimelech Malchei Hamalachim. Okay, we haven't learned the Ha yet. That's the. So we have Melech Malchei King Malchei Hamalachim, King of Kings. Basically, that is what that says. The translation in this particular, is not a translation. Okay, so I also often tell my students when they're looking at a prayer book and they want to look at the translation, and they say, wait a minute, she said this word meant whatever. I don't see it in the translation. I believe if you have a literal translation, in English, it often sounds very choppy and it's not pretty. And I believe that in the prayer book, because many people are relying on the English, on the translation, that the editor chose to make it more poetic. That's a good word. So instead of a literal word for word translation, they get the sense, the idea. So that it might not be exactly word for word, but you get the idea of it.
Mhm.
Okay, I hope that made some sense.
Yes, it does.
Okay, and the word melech means king. And I was just looking in this Siddur Sim Shalom, which is a newer, I mean, its copyright is pretty new. 1998 was the first printing. Okay, of the one I have. And anyway, so now we're getting closer to today as opposed to something printed in 1954 as an example. I picked that year out of nowhere. So in this particular Sim Shalom, when I was trying to find a translation, it used the word sovereign. Because in this politically correct age, we don't want to distinguish that much, masculine and feminine, that there are issues over this. So sovereign is a neutral word, if you will. It's still it's another word in English. It's another word for king or queen, the person who reigns, R-E-I-G-N-S.
Right.
So,
Or a ruler as opposed
Yeah.
to measuring.
right. So, okay. Where are we? Oh, so we've got a minute left, so I think we won't start anything new. Somebody did write to me. I've forgotten who that was. At this point, saying that Zoom fatigue had set in toward the end of the hour, and I get it. For some people, you get Zoom fatigue, and for some people, it's okay. But I think I'll stop here, and I will make a note on my piece of paper. We're going to start on page 10 next week.
Okay.
So it'll be October. Ooh, October what? 2nd? No.
Next Friday,
Yes, it's October what?
the 1st.
The phone is October 1st. Oh, so October 1, page
Yes.
10. Unbelievable.
Oh, by the way, Carol, I have a greeting for you.
Yes?
Artist Wexler says hello.
Oh, how nice. Thank you. Please say hello back.
I will.
Wow.
She's a very good friend of mine. And I told her I was taking the class from you. And she had very nice things to say about you.
Oh, thank you.
Just so you know.
That's lovely. Thank you very, very much. Oh, that's better. Anyway, okay. Anybody else have any questions?
Homework to repeat.
Yes. Okay. Yes. So, I live a block and a half, 2 blocks maximum from Carnegie Hall. And the sign on the side of Carnegie Hall always says, practice, practice, practice. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. And so my advice to you all is practice, practice, practice everything we've learned. The sign now was changed. I one day walked by it and it had, and this is for a while now, the sign changed. And instead of practice, 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 it says patience, patience, patience. That if you have patience, we will open again. So, all right. I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom and an early Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach.
Yeah.
Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah next Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yep.
I often tell people that my earliest Jewish memory is going to Simchat Torah services when I was probably 4.
Apple on a flag.
You got it. Yep. We're from the same generation, so apple on a flag, absolutely,
on
my
a
memory.
I
Yep.
remember
And
walking
strolling all
there.
over the synagogue.
Yep,
up and
that's my
down the
memory,
aisles.
Yep.
totally.